All right, so we are going to get started. Want to welcome everyone. Start by saying that closed captioning is available at the bottom of your screen using the CC Live Transcript button. So if needed, please use that. My name is Adam Pearl. I'm president and CEO of ArtPride New Jersey. So happy that you could join us this morning for some updates on in the world of New Jersey arts. And for those of you that are visually impaired, I am a white cisgender male in my early 40s with short brown hair, clean shaven, wearing a blue shirt. Behind me, I have a picture of a desert flower that my friend took a photograph of, and I do prefer he and his pronouns. I want to start with some housekeeping here, which is to say we are truly grateful that you're all with us this morning with all that is going on in the world, that you'll spend some time with us this morning, and we hope to give you some great information. If you have questions along the way, for myself or for Anne-Marie Miller or Jim Atkinson, who will be joining us in a little bit, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom box, and we will do our best to get to all the questions and answers. And we'll also use the chat feature if we have any links or anything to share along the way. And then, of course, as always, we are recording. So this will go up later today, probably on ArtPride's website, and it'll be available. So if you need to go back for something or you want to share with a friend or a colleague, that is always there. These resources are meant to be used and shared frequently. And that is it for me on the housekeeping. I'm going to get out of the way and pass it over to my colleague, Anne-Marie Miller, ArtPride's Director of Advocacy and Public Policy. Good morning, Anne-Marie.
Hi, Adam. How are you? Thank you. So we'll get started in a second, I guess. So I am a white cisgender female on the ceded territory of the Delaware, Lenni, Lenape Indians right now in Hightstown, New Jersey. I'm an older woman with short gray hair, eyeglasses, a navy blue shirt. I'm in the studio office at home right now, and you can see behind me, or can't see behind me, a window and a glittery wall hanging. I use she, her pronouns. So let's get started. And next slide. The one thing is that there will be a lot of links in this webinar, and I will not be able to put them into the chat, but they will be usable and in the email that you'll get after with the recording and the slide deck of the entire presentation. So we wanted to just start it off with IDA Hurricane Relief Resources to just remind everybody about what's available after the last big storm. And this program from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority will be available on next week, September 17th. And the grants are between $1,000 and $5,000 with the preliminary criteria for those grants is listed there in the bullet points of providing documentation of damage. Next slide. So NJ CARR is always available, the New Jersey Cultural Alliance for response. The contact person is right there, Natasha Zaleski. And then also reminding you of other New Jersey resources that are related to arts and disaster readiness and resources, the Performance Arts Readiness Project and the New Jersey Volunteer Organizations Active in Disasters. Next slide, please. And then on the federal government side is FEMA. So there's a picture right there. Actually, that's some of the damage to Roxy Ballet in Lambertville, it's been pretty devastating for them. This is the FEMA page. The link is up there, fema.gov/disaster/4614 for New Jersey. Right now, there are 6 counties covered for FEMA, but there are, I believe, right now, from what I've been reading in the news and listening to, FEMA folks are looking at the different other sites and counties that have had significant disaster. Right now, Essex County is not included, Mercer County, Burlington County are not included, and we're hoping that they will become included as this program rolls out. If you are in any of those counties and you have experienced disaster related to your arts institution, I encourage you to email your elected officials in the House of Representatives and the Senate, letting them know that you have need for FEMA. And that is always helpful. Next slide, please. So there is also Surf Plus, just reminding folks that this is available, and the link is down there below, mostly for individual artists who have suffered damage to their studios and to their workspaces. So that is also available as well to artists and craftspeople. Next slide. So this webinar, kind of like when I was putting the slides together, is a lot about public health, from disasters to COVID, and you'll see as this evolves, it's kind of amazing how the arts and public health are interrelated so much lately. This is just to remind you that BD, which is the creator of the BD Veritor Plus system for rapid COVID tests, has made a generous donation to the arts organizations in New Jersey to acquire some of these rapid tests. And if you have need for them, please email me directly at amiller@artpridenj.org, and we will make sure that you have the questionnaire to request those tests, and we'll link you to resources that help you understand how to administer them. A lot of online resources are available. We refer the requests directly to BD, and right now, out of the allotment that they've given us, a total of about 25,000 tests made available. There's still approximately 8,000 tests available out of that 25,000. So please email me and let me know if you would require them. And they will ship directly from BD, and we'll let you know when the shipments are going out. Many organizations have, out of, as you can see, with having 8,000 left of 25,000, have already taken advantage of this. Next slide, please. So, going more COVID-related resources, the CDC Foundation, which they misspelled in this, that's funny, I just noticed that, is announcing $2.1 million in arts and health funding to engage arts and culture groups to build vaccine confidence. Next slide, please. So this is, they have a request for proposals out from arts and culture organizations interested in improving vaccine confidence, and their response date, due date is October 14th. All of the links are here. They will be in the deck. There are downloads to give you the different documents that you need. And it's basically projects that build awareness, grants up to $75,000, and estimated 30 organizations, remembering that this is nationwide. But at the same time, this is an opportunity that if you are interested and have the capacity to deal with, looks like a good program. Next slide, please. Along those lines is also another national program. You may have seen some of the commercials with Susan Sarandon and I think Cynthia Erivo, Power to the Patients, which is an awareness campaign that asks the current administration to protect our rights to know the prices behind hospital stays and hospital expenses. There is a link there to take action and sign a petition. It is only active, I believe, through next week. Next slide, please. So, if you wanted to go there to do that, this is some of the bullet points, the fact that, well, you can see it there. Nearly 95% of hospitals continue to hide some of the upfront costs. So it's difficult for patients to really know what the prices are and to prevent those surprise medical bills that come after the fact that you've been in the hospital for any length of stay, even an emergency visit. So these are some of the issues that Power to the Patients is taking on, and trying to keep patients informed of what the upfront prices are. Next slide, please. The reason I also included this, besides the fact of being an important issue, is the fact that they have an open art call, and they are awarding prizes that are related to making, building awareness on this. And they're, this is all the way through the end of September. And part of the award is having your artwork part of the campaign on a national basis. Next slide, please. So here we go. We continue Arts and Health and Recovery. Just this week, I noticed these images of Afghan refugees at the Joint Base in Lakehurst, and noted that dance and music are part of the recovery. I think all of these programs right now are being administered through the base directly by our military specialists in different areas. But I thought you'd want to know that this is happening. I'm encouraged to know that arts and music are part of the recovery there. And if you are interested, actually, in any of the, there are the United Ways of Greater Newark, Burlington, United Ways in different counties are collecting resources, clothing, personal products, diapers, etc. That those are the places to go if you're interested in helping out related to this, to the Afghan refugees at the Joint Base. Next slide, please. So we continue with tomorrow being, so the 20th anniversary of 9/11. These are just 3 of the 150 memorials in New Jersey related to 9/11. And it's really important, while we remember our first responders and the lives lost that day, to also just take a moment to recognize the fact that the arts play a really important part in not only healing from incredible disasters, but memorializing those events and our loved ones that were lost those days. Next slide, please. So meanwhile, in DC, these are the big issues that are happening in Washington. It's kind of crazy. They've just gotten back from the August break, and they have a lot on their plates. So to avoid a government shutdown, they have to address the borrowing, so through the federal debt ceiling. And right now, I think our Secretary of Treasury is basically saying that she has about 6 weeks where the federal debt needs to be increased before the U.S. defaults on its bills. Usually it's the party in power that increases the deficit, the debt limit, but this is a negotiation process all the way down the line between both parties. The House will also be passed the passage of the $1.2 trillion Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That's hoped to be done before September 27th. Right now, what's happening with that, the infrastructure bill, the House passage, it has to go over also to the Senate. So there's a lot of discussions happening right now on that bill, whether it's going to be 1.2 trillion, whether it's going to be the 3 trillion. The 1.2 trillion actually is the current discussion based upon Senator Manchin's wanting to trim down from 3 trillion to 1.2 trillion. So all these discussions are happening right now. Plus a budget reconciliation bill, which is included numerous social programs like the child tax credit, free education, community college, and pre-K, paid leave, increasing taxes on higher income individual corporations, and that's under discussion as well. So, the Senate has to pass the second bullet point which the House has already done, but both houses need to consider the third bullet point. The subcommittees are now meeting on reconciliation. They're organizing different amendments and proposals to those bills. What's going to happen on the budget reconciliation bill is that it will take Democratic votes to pass it, with the vice president being the deciding vote. Within that reconciliation bill, there are bills being considered that relate to creative workers, and that's where we move into the next slide. So next slide, please. And this is what was mentioned in the promo for this webinar, is that there is a new federal legislation being considered right now to authorize $300 million to aid community recovery and put creative workers to work. It's called the Creative Economy Revitalization Act, or CERA, and you can help make it law by taking action. Next slide, please. Just to give you an idea what this bill will do. This has been under consideration for a long time through COVID, based upon a lot of creative workers talking throughout COVID about how do we bring back, make sure that the arts and creative workers are included in whatever happens in terms of legislation related to the budget and reconciliation. And basically, it authorizes this $300 million through a grant program that's related to the Department of Labor and the National Endowment for the Arts. And I actually have a lot more information on this because I'm sending it on a webinar later today that goes into great detail with the legislators who have authored this bill in New Mexico and I believe Montana. I don't quote me on the second legislator. The grants go to local, state, and tribal agencies, workforce agencies, and other entities to support business initiatives to employ creative workers. So the grantees hire creative workers to produce public creative projects that can include artworks, festivals, performances, arts education, and writing. And these help put creative workers back to work, support local businesses and economies. Next slide, please. So why? I think you all know why creative workers need this, because of the COVID impact. And this slide just sort of highlights that on a national level with, 2.7 million creative workers entirely unemployed, shrinking the creative economy by 57% in 6 months, and $51 billion in lost wages. So this is just some of the impact from felt through COVID on a national level. Next slide, please. So why does your community need the Community Economic Revitalization Act? So basically, these are the talking points that are used in terms of promoting this act. It's the value of the arts, generating $919 billion towards the GDP, the spending by patrons who attend arts events each year, how much goes back into local economies, and again, how much the arts are linked to tourism and cultural tourism. Next slide, please. So this is just the final bullet point. It's a first step. Now, www.creativeworkers.net is a place where you can find more information about the act itself. But next slide. We already have on the ArtPride Act Now, so it's artpridej.org/act now, the action alert page, an email that you can send to your House of Representative members to co-sponsor this bill. So we would encourage you to do that now. The window of opportunity is kind of fluid. I think the amount of earnestness that I heard from constituents right now will gain the co-sponsors that are needed to push this bill further. Hopefully it can be considered as part of these immediate actions by the House of Representatives and the Senate through the reconciliation bill. But if not, it can go on in perpetuity as more legislation is developed that is related to COVID recovery. So please take a moment to do that. And actually, if you receive a response back from your legislator saying yes or no, let us know at ArtPride, so we can follow up as well and kind of keep track as to what the sentiment is from our elected officials in Congress. Next slide, please. So there's an election in November in New Jersey, and our entire New Jersey Assembly and Senate are up for election, as well as the governor. We have a candidate survey that has been sent to all the candidates, including the gubernatorial candidates. The gubernatorial survey is a little bit different from this one, but there are key questions being asked by us of our candidates, and over 50 have already responded, both incumbents and challengers. So what do we do with this information? We make it known that it's available, and you can see this right now on that the link right there, artpridej.org/candidate-responses, basically gives you the responses, and the questions range from basically things like, do you participate in the arts? Do you support the arts financially? Will you also continue the amount of funding that was raised this year for arts, history, and tourism, and in the future years, as we try to make sure that we want to keep that level of funding secure? A question about the American Rescue Plan: will you support state funding from the American Rescue Plan going to the arts? And then would you support the arts education during National Arts Education Week, which is coming up next week? Anytime you see a little sort of plus sign with a circle around it, that means you can hover over that response and get detailed information that the candidate has offered to you. We will continue to push our candidates all the way up to Election Day to get responses from them, but we're encouraged by the responses so far, actually much better than the congressional responses that we normally get. But our local officials are interested in the arts, and I think it's really interesting for us. I know it's interesting for me to read the responses, to learn that some of them do support the arts, have family members that are involved in the arts, or have been personally involved in the arts in a professional or in, as a hobby, as a recreational activity, something that provides them joy. So next slide, please. Last part of this, before I turn this over to Jim, is to let you know that the Arts and Economic Prosperity 6 study is coming. Many of you are familiar with the one that was done in 2017. These are done every 5 years in collaboration with Americans for the Arts, and basically served as the basis. How's that for redundancy? For the information that's on Keep Jersey Arts Alive right now, that had, I believe, been instrumental in helping us get the increase in state arts funding, because our arts advocates actually utilize the data that's available on that website and has become specific to different counties throughout the state, and useful to those seeking to make the case for support for the arts. And right now we have interest from more than a handful of New Jersey counties and cities that are interested in participating in the next survey, which will involve getting data from arts organizations and also from audience members that participate in the arts. None of that's going to actually happen until late 2022 into 2023. But when ArtPride New Jersey becomes a state partner, which we're planning on doing by the end of this month or beginning of next month, there's a 50% discount to any local partner that wants to join in on this study. So the maximum expense for a local partner in New Jersey would be close to $4,000. So the reason there's been a lot of interest is that there's a reduced cost on all levels to participate in AEP 6, and we're hoping that it'll be as valuable as it has been for us in the past. So I don't know, Adam, did you have questions first before we move to Jim?
There's one question. I'm not sure if this is something we have at our fingertips or this is a follow-up, but Ellen Williams was asking if there's an individual or agency to contact if someone or an organization would like to offer arts activities to Afghan refugees at the joint base.
That's a really good question. Right now, I think it's been that the conducting those activities has been the job of our military right now and those that are already under contract. I've been trying to reach out to the base personnel itself because we're trying to see if we can get them interested in the Creative Forces program of the National Endowment for the Arts. I don't have a specific person who can be contacted, but Ellen, if you'd send me an email, if I actually find that person, I'll certainly send that contact over to you. So
that was the only question for now. We can
awesome.
Move along.
All right, so I'm going to bow out and hand it over to Jim.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. I have the unenviable task of following up on Anne-Marie, which is never easy because she provides so much information that's so fascinating, but I'll do my best. So I am Jim Atkinson, the Director of Programs and Services at ArtPride. I am a cisgender, middle-aged white male with black hair and glasses, wearing a blue and gray checkered shirt. As a follow-up, I didn't advance a slide there. As a follow-up to our last webinar where we discussed at length some work that ArtPride is partnering with the State Arts Council on through the Discover Jersey Arts program around promoting the reopening of the arts around New Jersey. We did have some updates we wanted to bring to you all today. First off, we had a task force meeting yesterday, actually. Oh my God, it was only yesterday. To just kind of update the creative, which is that group has signed off on. And this is similar to what we spoke about at the last webinar. But for those that weren't able to attend, it's around this theme of welcoming audience back to the moments they've been waiting for, with our core messaging around the themes of local, safe, and open. We are working on 2 versions of the creative. One will be driven by performing arts, one driven by visual arts. And we are now moving into the production phase starting next week. Our targeted launch date for the campaign will be that window between September 27 and October 4. And we're envisioning a 2-month run through a mix of broadcast, digital media, social media, PR. We don't have a full media plan in place yet, but we're even investigating possibly some outdoor transit. And then, again, that'll run for about 2 months. We'll follow that up with some public relations behind it, as well as looking at some work through social media influencers. So that's the kind of 30,000-foot view of the creative side. As far as the deliverables go, to stay up to date on what we're doing there, you can visit artpridenj.org/Jersey Arts Content, the URL you find there. We will have a new online directory that's currently being put together that will be launching on jerseyarts.com that will highlight organizations that are registered through the Jersey Arts Marketers Network. So if you're not sure whether or not you're registered for that, the best person to reach out to would be Megan at ArtPride. And Adam, I don't know if you could drop Megan's email in the chat. She would be the best person to reach out to see if your organization's part of that network or not. We're also going to be sending out a call for fall events that'll be coming out next week. Those events will be highlighted on the site throughout the course of that 2-month campaign. And we are expanding the publication of the feature stories and podcasts and video packages that we do on jerseyarts.com on a regular basis. That's spearheaded by Corin Reif and the ArtPride team. And we do have a jerseyarts.com COVID safety page, which obviously we can't get into promoting what every organization is doing from a safety messaging, but we did develop this list of iconography related to COVID safety. And the messaging there is we tell audiences to look for these icons or icons like these, because we understand not everybody's using the exact same icons. to see what organizations are doing to keep you safe upon your return. We released these several months ago when we rolled out the Summer Stages campaign. There are 2 new ones that we'll be releasing soon, as you see here on the left. As we have heard and we've learned through surveying that more organizations are beginning to require COVID vaccines or negative COVID test requirements. So these will be added to the toolkits as you'll see in the coming weeks. The other news on the Discover Jersey Arts front is that the redesign of the jerseyarts.com site that's been discussed for quite some time is moving forward. That process has begun, and we are projecting a March, April 2022 launch of the new site. So I don't know if there are any questions coming in, Adam, or we can just move on.
Oh, we're okay. We can keep going.
Great, thank you.
So back to me here, just for a moment. As I think I mentioned before, next week is National Arts and Education Week. Americans for the Arts has a whole slew of resources to promote Arts and Education Week next week. And also Arts Ed New Jersey, so it's artsednj.org, has a ton of resources. And actually tonight at 6 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube, they are premiering this video, Beyond the Boundaries, Arts Education Through a Pandemic. It's a little bit over 3-minute video that features students and educators throughout the state of New Jersey talking about how arts education has made a tremendous positive impact on their lives throughout the COVID pandemic. So I encourage you to take, you can't get easier than through Facebook or YouTube to be able to see that. It will be available after the premiere, of course, tonight at 6 p.m.
Jim, I don't know if you could pop back on for a second. We did get a question that came in about some of the reopening campaign. The 2 new icons. I know we just got them in yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
So they're going to go up on the website in the next few days. When do you think?
I don't have an exact date, but very shortly. Yeah.
Okay. And so if someone needed them like immediately, Katrina Browning's asking about, she has a program guide going to the printer next week. Could we get that to Katrina? Maybe.
Yeah, if she wants to email me directly, I'll make sure we get them to her as soon as humanly possible.
All right. While I continue on here, will you drop your email in there, and will you also drop the link in the chat for where folks can go to get the iconography?
Sure.
Thank you, and you're welcome, Katrina. All right, so before we go, I want to let everyone know that we have our annual meeting next month. So ArtPride's October webinar will be our annual meeting on October 26th. We're in the process of finalizing the details with our keynote speaker, and that's going to determine the timing on the day. So that announcement will be coming soon. Stay tuned for that, but you'll be sure to have some great things to listen to, some learning, an update from ArtPride on what we have going on, and of course we'll make sure to incorporate some New Jersey art. Before we go, I do want to take a moment to thank a member of the ArtPride team, Emily Ambash, who is moving on. Emily was ArtPride's web content and promotions manager for more than 10 years, and Emily's moving on to her next opportunity. I know she's really excited about it. And it's bittersweet. We're excited for her, but we'll miss her on the team. So on behalf of the board and the staff and all the team members, that we just wanted to say thank you to Emily. So we appreciate that. And I believe, I hope she's still on here. I saw her name on there earlier. So with that, we are going to let everyone go. Thank you again for joining us. And as always, we're always here. Feel free to reach out to any of ArtPride's team for any of your questions, and we'll always do our best to help you out. Stay well out there. Thank you again for joining us this morning.